bridal party photo here from the lovely Joy Neville Photography. And Joy was asking in a group how to fix this photo. So the bottom portion of the photo, you can see that the sun was shining on half of this grass in the bottom portion of this photo, and she wanted to know how she could get this bottom portion to match the grass up here. And she tried cloning it, and it was looking good. So I said I would come in and show you how you can get the bottom part of this grass to look like this grass and do it in a way that is fairly quick and natural. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing, actually the very first thing I want to do is I can see that this horizon line here is just slightly off. So I'm just going to straighten this photo out before I even get started. So I'm going to use my tool, and I'm just going to do auto because there's so many lines here. I think that it'll do a great job. Okay, perfect. So now I know I always want to make sure that my horizon lines are just right. The next thing I want to do is I just want to crop it up a little bit so that the spacing on this side of the photo is the same as the space over here. So I am just going to crop this in from the bottom just a little bit till that about matches, I don't know, roughly right about there. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to take my brush tool. So I'm going to take this brush tool and let's see, I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel so I make it a little bit bigger here. And I'm going to actually think we're going to reduce the feathering on this brush just a little bit, maybe to the middle here so it's not quite so feathered. And I'm just going to start drawing on here. Now I don't have my brush set to do anything, so it's not making any changes at the moment, but I just wanted to brush on here so that when I do start making changes I can see what the effect looks like. So I've just painted on here on this bottom portion just a little bit. All right, now I'm going to bring my exposure, oops, little alarm there. Okay, I'm going to bring my exposure down till it matches what I think roughly the exposure on this grass is going to be. Obviously, it looks terrible, right? Because the color is all off. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to fix the coloring. So I'm going to pull this blues down, probably roughly to about there, and I'm going to pull my greens way down. And maybe to about there, maybe pull the blues down a little bit more, about right there. And I think my exposure needs to come down even more. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Now that we can see that, let's continue to paint this effect. Now, it's never going to be perfect, right? There's always going to be this line there that's sort of dividing this area from the area up here that's in the shade. You're never going to be able to paint it so it's perfectly hidden. But we're going to do the best we can. We're going to get the closest that we can. Okay, so I've painted that on there. Now I'm going to hold my Alt or Option on a Mac key. So I'm going to remove some of this. Oops. Let's try this again. I'm going to notice when I hit my Alt key, it turns into a minus. And I'm going to erase some of that effect where I oversprayed just a little bit. Really, I don't really need to do this all that much. I just like to get it as close as I can. Okay, but now, again, there's still the line there, although it's looking much, much, much better. I could leave this photo as is, and it would still look far better than the way it started. But we can make this even better. So now let's bring this photo into Photoshop and get rid of this line and make this part of the grass blend better with this part of the grass. So I'm going to right click on here. I'm going to say edit in Photoshop. And I want to edit it with the Lightroom adjustments I just made. So I'm going to click edit. And It may or may not pull up, huh? There we go. All right, I think I need a faster computer. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now I'm actually just going to do something super simple. I'm going to use the content aware fill tool and just get rid of this line. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle around this line. Make sure that I'm over on enough on this side and enough on this side. And I'm going to hit my delete key, and that is going to bring up my fill box. Now I want to make sure that where it says contents that I've chosen content aware, and it is, and then the rest of these I want to leave the way they are. Click OK. Yeah, my computer's really spinning tonight. Looks like it's just had it. And bam! There you go. I'm going to, let's close that, hit Control or Command D to deselect. Perfect. Now it's all blended in. And if you feel like there's still some areas that need worked on, you could always take like this patch tool, for example. Say that you see a line here and you just think it's a little bit too obvious. You could always take some of this and maybe drag it over here. Maybe drag some of this over here. But you want to make sure that it doesn't look too obvious, like a repeating pattern. So don't just drag everything underneath, because then it will start to look repeating. Kind of do it randomized. So if you want to get this line here, like maybe bring that over there. Maybe bring this over here, you know, make it look a little bit more random. Okay, perfect. So now we've got that. And now I think we can do one more thing to make this photo even better. A photo that has too much negative space at the bottom that doesn't have purpose starts to feel, well, it looks better if you don't put so much negative space, unless there is a purpose for this space down here. So we want the people to be a little bit lower in the frame. Basically what you're looking for is about 1/3 down here at the bottom and 2/3 at the top. And we do have more at the top than the bottom, but I think we could make this a little bit more. So let's take this cropping tool here, and I'm just going to click. Actually, first, before I do that, I'm going to unlock this layer. I'm going to click this and unlock the layer. Click inside here to get these grid lines to pop up. And once I do that, I'm just going to pull this down just a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, roughly to about there. Okay, I'm going to push enter and lock that in. Okay, now what I can do is, since I have this portion at the top that needs to be filled in, I can actually, there's a couple of ways I can do that, but the way I'm going to do it here is I'm just going to use the content aware scale tool. And so I'm going to choose that content aware scale, and I'm going to click this option up here. This is the protect skin tones. The purpose of this is basically so Photoshop can see where the people are and try not to stretch them when it's stretching the photo. It's going to look at the rest of the photo. And so it doesn't always work perfectly, but I think it should work here. So let's try it out. Oh, and I'm pulling it up, but it's also pulling out on the sides, which I don't want. So I'm going to undo that. I'm just going to push escape to undo that. And let me try this again. Escape. Okay. Edit. Content aware scale. And I'm going to have to hold my shift key down. There we go. The newer versions of Photoshop have made it so that when you drag the corners, it automatically tries to retain your aspect ratio, which I think is very irritating. So I like to turn that off, so that I have to use shift to maintain my aspect ratio. It's just how I'm used to doing it. Adobe obviously thought that people did not want it that way, but I do. So anyway, I'm going to push enter here, and I think that that did an excellent job. And now this photo looks perfect. Less space up here, more space up here makes it a little bit more pleasing to the eye. And there you go.